Welcome to the OFX podcast and day 3 of our Deka weekend, where we were overloaded with Deka interviews, awesome interviews with great people. And we couldn't just let him sit by the sidelines. So we wanted to get him out too. So we did 3 episodes over a weekend, 3 episodes, 3 days. In actuality, you were getting 5 interviews. So we already had Lauren Weeks and Ryan Kent, Dylan Scott and Tara Jackson, which was kind of a 2-for-1 because you got them both at the same time. And today we have J.P. from Spartan Ram, all the way from Ireland, who's founder of the Spartan Ram company. Super awesome guy. And Kevin Gregory, aka Bubbles the Clown. Probably one of the most surprising and analytical guys I've ever seen. He's got this stuff literally down to a science. It's amazing. So I hope you enjoy J.P. from Spartan Ram and Kevin Gregory. Forgot once before. Oh my God, we had a great interview with a CrossFitter friend of ours named Carolyn Prevo.
Yes.
He's one of the ones that gets to the games. I think this is their 3rd time this year, and we recorded like an hour-long interview, and then I lost it all. I didn't record it. It was fantastic. It was one of my higher moments of my stellar achievements. All right, so we'll just jump right in. So first off, why don't you just introduce yourself and tell us who you are?
My name's JP, and I'm co-founder and co-owner of RamFit. We're a company based in Ireland, and basically we manufacture fitness equipment from what was once considered waste. So we like to think that, that what was once considered waste, we change it into fitness equipment, and also we like to think an opportunity for people, for trainers, for gyms, that they can use our products in their own lifestyle to improve themselves in a fitness way.
All right, so before we get too much into the company, let's go back with you a little bit. So obviously most people don't get into fitness just randomly going, hey, I'm going to invent a RAM roller and I'm going to jump into the fitness world. So how did you start? Like, did you have an athletic background as a kid? Did you go through high school? I mean, you guys are a little bit different over there than us.
Yeah. Well, myself and my business partner, Dermot, who, like I said, unfortunately can't join us here this evening, we came up through the ranks playing a particular sport back here in Ireland. It's quite unique to Ireland. In Ireland's a small place, but we have a couple of sports that are quite unique to Ireland, which are huge. All amateur based, but played and trained at a very professional level. I was lucky enough to play for nearly 20 years in my sport, from say a 15, 16-year-old right up till I retired at 35, 36. And likewise with Dermot as well. We're actually from rival clubs within the area that we're from within Ireland. But if you understand the geographics of Ireland, we're all based in counties, which is probably what you'd call provinces. So we're from different areas within the county, and if you're good enough to play with your club and represent your club, you get noticed by the higher echelons that are up there, and you get to represent your county, which is an honour. And like I said, Ireland's a small place, but it's played in front of thousands of people. Like our national stadium, Croke Park, which is based in Dublin, it's one of the largest stadiums actually in Europe. It holds about nearly 84,000 people, and every year it's packed out for what I suppose you guys would call the NFL final, the NBA final, that type of thing. So we were lucky. We were lucky to play for our county, which was called Monaghan, and we both retired and we set up a business ourselves, a sports product distribution business into those sports that we once played.
So, and I'm just taking the gap. That's not hurling. Hurley, is it?
Hurling is one of the sports, and Gaelic football is the other. So, hurling's played with a stick and a small ball, and Gaelic football is played with a larger soccer type ball, I suppose is the best way to describe it. It's because it's actually played to such a high standard and a professional level, even though, like I said, it's all amateur based. No players get actually paid, even though they're literally playing in front of thousands every Sunday. And then they're normal guys going to their work on a Monday morning.
Yeah.
It sounds strange, but that's that's the beauty of it. But because it's played to such a high level, literally at the age of 17, 18, you need to split. You need to go to a particular sport. Hurling isn't as prominent in my own county. It's more Gaelic football. So that's where I played hurling up till I was about 17, 18. But Gaelic football was the more prominent sport within my area of Ireland. So I went with that. And
Yeah.
yeah, enjoyed quite a long career. And quite a bit of success. But obviously, as we all know, when you play sport, a lot of bad days as well. But you pick yourself up and you go again.
Yeah, like I only know of hurling because, we're Canadian, and Canadian, we live and breathe and
Yes.
die hockey. And
Yes.
hockey is, to the best of my knowledge, came from hurling, right? It was a
Exactly. Yeah.
modification. So our ice hockey, so we actually owe Ireland credit for hockey.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, we'll take it. Not a problem.
I don't know a lot about Gaelic football, but I've heard of it before, and I imagine it's rough as hell.
Yeah, it's basically it's very like hurling. It's both are played on the same football fields,
Yeah,
and the GAA with the parent organization is called the GAA, abbreviated, and it stands for the Gaelic Athletic Association, and both codes of sports come under that administration, and yeah, like I said, it's huge in Ireland. There's teams literally all across the US and Canada that play it. Irish immigrants that went there and Irish communities that go there. I was in Chicago just actually,
yeah,
Dave, where we met in Chicago just a number of weeks ago, and my brother who lives in Chicago for 25 years lives literally 10 minutes walk from Navy Pier, and he's involved. He's heavily involved in the Irish community over there, and his team. He manages he's finished playing now, but he manages the local team from his area of Chicago. There's 5 clubs, 6 clubs in Chicago, and
awesome.
they won the Chicago Championships. And then just at the weekend past, there's the team went on to represent Chicago in the North American Championships, and they won it as well. So yeah, it's there's a lot. Yeah, the GA it's all that, and that's all around the world. The GA is spread out all around the world from the Irish community that has gone out there. So yeah, it's a big thing. But you should look it up, YouTube at Gaelic
Yeah.
football, and you'll see it.
So he
Yeah,
did
and
all that,
it's
and we still couldn't get him to do a Deka mark.
no, he was concentrating on the big game on the following day and the Sunday. So
Yeah,
he
that's
wanted to keep all his energy for that.
that's understandable. So you guys start this company to make athletic equipment, and obviously we're here because you make the Ram roller,
Yes.
the Spartan Ram, whatever, depending on who you are, what you want to call it. So was that your first product, or did you guys go into this company being, like you said making from things that used to be waste, so like recycled materials and stuff like? Was that your first product, or did you guys have something else you started with?
No, we had a company. We started a company that supplied, simple products, mouth guards. We play with a particular type of glove,
Yep.
that not so much to protect our hands, but for grip on the ball. We have a special type of glove. So we would have supplied a lot of stuff, simple training equipment. And one of the pieces of equipment that we used to supply into our own sport was we call them sandbags back here. You guys probably call them the same power bags.
Yep.
Great piece of equipment, to train with. But Ireland being Ireland, it's there's a lot of moisture over here. A lot of our training, well, most of our training is all outdoors. But like I said, there's a lot of moisture, a lot of rain, and what we found with sandbags is they burst. We used to supply them to our clients, and we'd get a lot of complaints back saying these sandbags have burst again. You have to replace them. So the type of guys we are, we said, right, we're gonna go out there and we're gonna make the best sandbag ever. Nobody's ever done it. We're gonna make the best one that doesn't burst. We found out quite quickly we couldn't do that. So we sat down then and said, right, okay, let's set about trying to make a new piece of equipment that ticks all the boxes and doesn't need to be replaced, or that's very durable and versatile. So we started to play about with different designs. The original prototypes of the Ram itself, as you know it now, was similar to the design that as you know now, Dave, but we had straps on it. We actually had handles on it. And we thought we had something. But when we started giving it out to other coaches, to other athletes, started training with it ourselves, we started to strip it back to the simple design that you see now. And we discovered that we used to have a tagline: with less, you could do more. So that's how we actually came to that design that you see there. Yes, it's a very simple design, but we actually found that it was, because it's so simple. There's just so much more you could do with it as a training piece of equipment. And then we tried to figure out what is the best material to actually make it from. And just I'll not get into the full story, but we discovered this material that was made from recycled tires that we could get our hands on. And we found that it was a very, for us, it was a very easy piece of material, or type of material that we could actually mold into the shape that we wanted. So I'm not an engineer by trade at all. That's not my background, but I've had to learn quite a bit on engineering over the last number of years as we get, because obviously this idea came out of our head, this design came out of our head. So we had to make up bespoke machinery to actually make our first proper ram. And in fairness, we didn't get it too far wrong the first time around. The very first machine that we made, we still use it today in the factory. So it's made to use the lighter rams. And yeah, it still works. We have a whole range of machines now, but we still actually use that original machine. So yeah.
Well, you're spot on one thing. The damn thing's tough as hell. Like, because I got that one from you in Chicago, and I've been beating the hell out of it. Like, I use it all the time, like smashing it on the floor. We're doing the burpees, and just, I'm rough on gear.
Yes.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and wow, it's not took a step wrong. The thing's tough as hell. So it's been great. And I'm doing the same thing. Like, I'm finding different things to use it. I mean, at first, I did the lunges and the burpees because that's what you do, and then you're breaking out the squats and just doing different crap with it that you can think of, whatever works.
Yeah, well, we've had our issues. We've especially when we tried to, when the demand was there to make a heavier weight. Originally, we made up to 22 pounds,
Yeah,
10 kgs. We use kgs
yeah,
in Europe, so 22 pounds kg, 10 kgs. And soon after I went to the US 4 or 5 years ago, it was obvious that we needed heavier weights. So the 33 came around, the 44 came around, the 55, and how we actually get the extra weight into those rams is that we have a company quite close to where we're based, massive engineering company, and we take waste steel from their factory, and we do a higgledy-piggledy job on the steel, and we repurpose it, and we actually center that within the actual mold of the ram itself. So it leaves it that you still have basically the same length of ram, so it's shoulder width. So you don't have to overreach. That's going to cause injury when you go to do some type of lift or rotation with it. And that's how we actually add the extra weight into it. We had our issues around making sure that the steel stayed in place, but in fairness, we've got that nailed, and it's pretty tough to try and break it.
well, yeah. Like, I mean, I've gone to shit before where I go to OCR races or go to hybrid races, and I see CrossFit stuff, and you see sandbags break open all the time. You see all this stuff happen. You see gear go wrong. I have not seen one of these things miss a step. I haven't seen one
Yeah.
come apart. I mean, I'm sure it's happened somewhere along the line, but it
Yeah,
seems.
well, we've literally we're starting to deal quite a bit with the military and the first responder market, and we got he's actually become quite a good friend of mine, a guy he's a firefighter based up in New York, and he sent me a video one day of them driving their fire truck over the ram, and literally couldn't break it. I dared him, and he tried, and he said, "Yep, JP, you're right. I can't break it." I drove the truck over it, so which is pretty cool. We The reason why it's so durable, we make it's rubber. Like, we make it from recycled tires. We take tires otherwise that would be going into landfill or being dumped or whatever. We break them down, and we repurpose them into uh, a fitness product. So
well, I'm like a pipe fitter welder by trade, so I'll bring it in there. We'll cut the sucker with some grinders and some sawzalls. We'll see how break it open.
Yeah, you do
But then
that.
I
You
gotta get
break.
another one.
Yeah, no problem.
So you got this company you guys have set up, and then I mean, for most people listening, they're gonna know you from Deka Fit. How does that partnership between you and you and Yancey, or you and Spartan, you and Deka, how does that come to be? Because I mean, you are in Ireland. You're not exactly in Pittsfield, Vermont. You're
Yes.
a bit of a way, or in Texas from Yancey. From how do you guys hook up, and kind of the origin of it? Because I mean, Yancey was designing this, and the Ram has been part of it from day one. So he must have had this in mind or something. How'd that happen?
Yeah, yeah. Me and Yancy go back quite a bit now at this stage. I suppose, yeah, this is 2022. Back in 2017, 2018, we the RAM itself has been in development for maybe 6, 7 years. First couple of years between the idea, the design, trying to get prototypes made. Then we thought we figured out that we had a product, and then trying to actually get machinery to make it in good amounts. So we had been putting it out there to people back here, but in fairness, Dave, in the world of fitness, everything starts in the US.
Yeah.
That's what we felt from over here, whether it's TRX, whether it's Zumba, whatever. So I said, listen, I'm getting on a plane, and I went to the States. Didn't know anybody, didn't know anything, grasped on to anything I could. And in fairness to what I like about you guys over there, a bit like the way I am personally, you like to talk, you like to meet people, you like to network. And in fairness, when you see something, it could be something that you're interested in, but if it's not your thing, you say, listen, great product, just I'm not the right guy to talk to, but actually I know a guy who you should talk to. And you get a card and you get another number and you get contact. So that's literally I flew over on a plane with a RAM in my backpack and done a little bit of walking around the trade shows. I landed at IRSA in 2018, I think it was March 2018, and walked up to the Power Systems, who are a distributor of ours now, up to their stand, and met the owner, asked where was the owner, tried to act as big and as, act as we're this big fitness company from little old Ireland, with this product. And he was in fairness to him, he gave me 5 minutes. And in the 5 minutes that I was chatting to him, I set the RAM at my feet on the ground. And then 2 minutes into the conversation, all I could hear was this Texan accent coming from behind going, "Hey man, what's this?" And the next thing, I looked over my shoulder, trying to stay serious and everything, with the owner of Power Systems. And this guy started swinging the RAM around his head, started doing burpees, started doing Russian twists, started using it as an actual roller. And all I could hear is, who owns this? Where'd this come from? This Texan accent. And so finally, the Power System guy said, "Nice to meet you, JP. If somebody has to talk to, but listen, keep in touch, and we'll see what happens." So I turned around, and the next thing, met this guy full on, and you know what Yancey's like, full of energy. And he says, I was told you're the guy who owns this. What is this? I've never seen this before." So that's literally where it came from. In fairness, me and Yancey clicked straight away. Not just from a business point of view, but from a personal relationship. He's not the hardest guy in the world, Dave, to
No.
to get on with. Always in a good mood. I've never seen the guy in bad form, as we call it back here. I have a very good friend back here, and him and Yancey just reminds me so much of each other. And my friend back here has a saying: "There's never a problem. There's only issues that have to be resolved." And that's Yancey. That when it comes to that end, but like he, always a smile in his face, always good to say about everybody else, and ultra positive. Yeah, I when I finish on a call with him or a Zoom or anything, or meet him face to face, I'm always buzzing. He just leaves that effect on you.
Yeah, he makes you think you can do anything.
That's it. And funny story, like fast forward to now, obviously we had the pandemic. I couldn't travel over for a good nearly 24 months. And me and Yancy met. I always remember when we last met face to face was at Boston Airport after the Fenway Stadium, and things went really well in 2019 with Spartan. And we said, listen, we'll see each other in February. That was November 2019. Little did we know what was coming down the line. And when we did meet back up face to face, Yancy said to me, JP, do you remember when we were just talking about things? And do you remember when we first met? And all that has happened in between, our meeting might never have happened. 2 minutes before you arrived on the stand and I seen the Ram for the first time, I was literally about to go to the toilet. And when I go to the toilet, I'm going to go down the corridor of the trade show and probably meet somebody, and I'll be away for the next 45 minutes, 50 minutes, and then come back. And we might as well have not met. And that's so maybe there's a little bit in that, fate, whatever, maybe it was meant to be. But met Yancy then. He introduced me, told me about this sport that he was involved with called OCR. Did I know it? I said, to be honest, I don't. When he mentioned obstacle course racing, I said, yeah, I think I know that. Is that where people hang off rings and do crazy stuff and go like for 24 hours running and, Ninja Warrior and
Yep.
and he said, well, yeah, yes, that's it, but there's all different brands. So he said, I know I'm very friendly with a guy called Joe DeSena of Spartan fame, and it sort of rang a little bit of bell in my head. And I goes, I think I know that company name anyway. And he said, yeah, well, he could be interested in this. So there's a few things floating in my head. So fast forward a little bit again, he introduced us to Spartan, to Joe. They liked what we were doing. Obviously, we liked what they were doing, and the rest is history. We done a deal with them, and we rebranded the Ram as the Spartan Ram, and they introduced us to the Spartan world. We done a few pop-up shops, kind of thing, a few exhibitions at some of the races, and then they said, listen, we want to get you into some of our races. We have this stadium race series where we use stadiums as the actual course layout, and we want to put you in as an obstacle. So our first one was in June of 2019 in Arizona State, in Phoenix, Arizona, at the Arizona Cardinals Stadium, and it was awesome. And their second one was in the AT&T Stadium in Dallas, and I always remember being on the floor on the 40-yard line, looking up around me at Jerry World, going, how does a dummy like me from little old Ireland, in a small place in Ireland, end up on the on the floor of the AT&T Stadium in Dallas, in the Dallas Cowboys? So yeah, so that's how all that came about.
So the first one was that, and you might not know this, but was that the race where Killian and Kent came down at the end and were doing the Ram burpees at the end? And I think that's where Kent passed Killian to take the win there.
That's right.
Like Killian, an epic finish. That's a great finish for you guys to have right off the
we were just blew away. Me and Dermot were just blew away. Killian came in, I think, about 9-10 seconds ahead of Ryan. And Killian had never seen a Ram before. Never seen a Ram before. Didn't know what a Ram was. Because of the connection that Ryan and Yancy had, obviously Yancy was a coach. Yancy had asked me to forward on a Ram to Ryan 2 months previous. So Ryan knew the Ram, had been doing burpees with it, knew the feel of it. Came in about 8, 9, 10 seconds behind Killian. And I have to say, I was fascinated, because we all love, when we see two warriors go at it. And you could just see the two of them were in the zone. And the pain hit Killian first. It was right at the very end of the race, obviously. And you could just see Ryan was just in the zone and just burpee for burpee, and then slightly getting ahead. And by the 13th, 14th, Ryan had got ahead, and bang, out and across the finishing line. It was awesome. And I thought that was the way OCR races always finished, but then I was told that no, not usually.
Sadly, no, not often enough.
No.
So yeah, you get that, and you get a good shot like that, and then Yancy, I assume, comes to you with this Deka idea, and yes. I mean, I would think from your guys' perspective, you gotta be like, this is great, this is fantastic, because it's just more. And yeah, so how do you approach it with that?
Yancy came at me with this idea that he had, and he basically, what he explained to me was was what you see now. Deka, 10 zones of functional fitness, gave me the whole spiel, the whole rundown on why he thought people should do it. It's for the masses. And before we even got into anything about affiliation program with gyms or anything like that, I was
Yeah.
I was in straight away. I just thought that is fantastic. That is brilliant, Yancey. And the fact that he wanted us in zone 1 and zone 10, just first of all, it was fantastic for us that Yancey had such faith in us as a product to put us alongside such other great products like the Ski Erg or the Concept 2 Roar, and I could see straight away it was a winner. The idea, the concept of it, and then for us to be involved with that has been fantastic as well. Again, it's just added more profile to us. It's just put us in front of so many more people, and that's what we've always said. Our product is a simple product. We never invented it to change or revolutionize the world of fitness. But what we do believe is we have a very good product that will help anybody move better, exercise better, make their workout better. And that's what RAM stands for. People often ask me, what does RAM stand for? Or where did we come about with the name RAM? RAM stands for recycle and move. We have a green ethos to the company. And when it comes to life in general, you've got to move. If you can't move, then everything else is just, you're going to have issues. So,
well, you say it's really simple, and I mean it is, but so is a dumbbell, so is a plate weight, so is a sandbag. They're all very simple. Sometimes the simple things are what works best, and that's me personally. Some of the stuff I like to use. So what comes next now for you guys? Because I mean, obviously, with affiliate gyms growing and your product getting into more gyms, that's obviously a great thing, and that'll keep expanding. But what's next for you guys? And just correct me if I'm wrong. I think I saw on the Instagram page like a backpack where you use it for like a ruck kind of thing. Like
yes.
what other ways are you guys going?
Yeah, no. Well, we'd never planned on being a one product company. Ram Fit is the company. Ram is our number one product. We've just it's been all about establishing ourselves with the Ram first of all. We've been lucky that we've created a base for ourselves. So and being part of Spartan and Deka, it's put us front and center with so many other parts of the fitness industry and other areas such as the military or such as even CrossFit. We're starting to dip our toes into CrossFit a little bit, and then team sports as well, because the RAM correlates right across all of those. So we're developing from the military and the CrossFit world. They've asked us, yeah, we like it, we really like it, especially in the CrossFit world, but can you get heavier? So we're developing a 66, 77, 88, and probably a 99-pound RAM, which hopefully by January, February will be out. Also from our dealings with the military, which has been excellent, the really great people to deal with, from my experience. What they came back to us was, could we elongate it in the sense that can we make a log from it? So we've developed the RAM log, which we're more than past the prototype stage now. We've done up the logs, we have them using it, and we've got great feedback on it. Again, the big advantage with the log and log training is still very much a thing. Brilliant small group training piece of equipment to use. So, but the problem with traditional logs is it's a natural piece of material. Obviously, it's timber. It's the trunk of a tree. So they vary in weights. There's nuts that you can splinter. There's a health and safety issue around them. The weather. So the big advantage with the log is just its consistency. So if it's 130 pounds, it's 130 pounds every time. If it's 160 pounds log, it's that every time. If it's a 300-pound log, it's that every time. So you'll not get Dave, who's that little bit smarter than J.P, going and picking up the lighter side of the log all the time, and dopey J.P finishes off with the heavier side of the log every time. It's just consistent, and again extremely durable and won't break as well, which is what the guys wanted.
So is this like when you say log, is this like kind of like the strongman log you would see? Same kind of deal where I would be guessing, but maybe 2-3 feet long and then have horizontal handles in it kind of thing.
No. It can be 3-4 foot long, but the logs that we've been manufacturing up to this point for the military are like a 3-4 person type
Oh,
log.
okay, I
So
gotcha.
yeah, so it's about 8 foot long, 8.5 foot long, and it can vary in weight from 160 pounds up to 300 pounds at the minute. But we're flexible and getting feedback all the time. What is the weight? What's the best weight that you want? From the guys that I'm dealing with.
So that like, would that be used almost kind of like they use the worm in team CrossFit games kind of thing?
Exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. But ours is the log is literally a log. It's rigid.
Yeah.
If you can imagine the ram, which is like 1.5 to well about 20 inches long, 21 inches long. If you can imagine that, 8.5 foot long. It's a rigid piece of equipment. So if you can imagine 3-4 people doing their sit-ups or doing a deadlift with it, that type of thing. There's and again, log training from my experience back here isn't really a thing as such, but in the States, it's still very much a thing. And it's only when we created the log and we started training with it back here. I coach teams back here myself, just in my own life and my own sport. And I've taken the log out, and they just dread seeing me coming with this new piece of equipment, the ram, and then the log. But they love it, and it's only then that I realized just how versatile it is. What a great piece of equipment it is to group train people with. Get them into groups of 3 and 4, and really make it competitive among themselves. Like it's a brilliant piece of equipment to train
I
with.
can see that having a super place in team CrossFit.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah,
you
yeah.
totally work there. Um, oh, that sounds awesome. I really like a lot of that stuff. So those are the other components. You're bringing in other stuff, other things. Will you guys be present at the Deca World Championship? Are you guys going to make it out for that?
Very much so.
Yeah.
And really looking forward to it. Uh, Deca's been great for us, and I know people just want to get their hands on a gold ram.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, the go somewhere. And again, that originally that sort of came off the cuff kind of thing. The very first Deca fit, it was sort of a last minute, literally a last minute thing. Yancey, should we do trophies? And then we went, yeah. What about if we do a gold, silver, bronze? And then Yancey, of course, was like, man, that would be awesome. So yeah, and it's become a thing now. It's become a
Oh
real.
yeah.
I know from chatting with Ryan. He's well, Ryan's gathering a real collection of them at the minute from the various decas that he's partaken in. But it's become a thing now, so it's great. But yeah, we'll be at the World Championships.
I told Yancey this, and I'll tell you too. When it comes to those trophies, I thought that was great. The first time I saw him in the podium, I'm like, oh, that kicks ass. Now, I'm never going to win one. I'm just not there. Ryan
Oh, you
can't
might,
compete.
you might use that as your motivation,
That's
Dave.
right. Yeah,
Use,
yeah.
use it as your motivation.
But what I told Yancey, and I'll tell you, I said, what you guys should do is for the age groups, right? Obviously, you cannot be giving out these Rams to everybody every podium because it's bloody expensive, right? That just doesn't happen. But I told him what you should do is offer someone who, let's say, I win my age group. Okay, you've won your age group. Here's the Ram to pose with. If you want, you can purchase that particular Ram, and at whatever price it is, right? But because I told Yancey, I said, if I win my age group or bronzes, I'll totally buy one on the spot, no doubt about it. I'm like, just be great, right? And then the rest of us have an opportunity because Ryan Kent's hoarding all the rest of them.
Yeah. Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea.
Well, I got all the best ideas. You gotta wait for them. They take a while sometimes.
So what age group are you in again? The
I am
25, the 25 to
45.
29, is
Yeah,
that?
25 to 29, give or take. I gotta get this in before so I don't forget. But when Yancey suggested you come on the podcast, I was like, I tell everybody so far, I'm like, yeah. So Yancey being Yancey is very excitable, and he gets an idea and he
Yes.
goes, and it's just this is my idea, and I need to present this now and go with it. So I'm running the relay with my friend Tony, and I'm on the rower, and I'm giving it as best I can on the rower. And Yancey comes piling in the front. He's, hey Dave, you got to get these guys on the podcast right now. And I'm like, seriously, Yancey? Like I'm trying to do my best, Bubbles the clown impersonation here, row as hard as
Yes.
I can. And he's like,
Yeah.
okay, whatever, man.
That's Yancey. It just comes into his head, and he says it because he knows he's going to forget about it. Like something else come into his head 2 minutes later, and then that's
Million
gone.
miles an hour. The guy is the best. And yeah, I
Yeah.
was absolutely delighted too. I was just I laughed at him and I teased him about his timing on that one, but that's okay. It was good fun. And by the way,
Yeah.
the relay is the best event.
Uh, Again, it was back in Austin when the first done the team event. I was there, and I really enjoyed. Like Austin was an awesome event. They're all awesome events, but really enjoyed the whole day. Love watching the elites, love watching the age groups, and then just love watching general people just getting their mark. And it's just, and they always put me right at the finishing line, and I just see the emotion every time people come. It just gets me every time. But then the guys done the team, the relay event at the end, and it was just so fast paced. And then it was the first time everybody was doing it, and you could see people trying to figure out on their feet in the, how do we do this? What's the best way? Who's running now? Who picks up here? It was just, and it's even in Chicago, you just seen it was just guys. It was just brilliant to watch. It is. It's really really exciting and it's so fast.
Yeah, when we were setting up to do our relay, I swear our plan looked like a science experiment. Like it was just a sheet long of here, switch. But it was so much fun. And then it all goes out the window once you start. But
Yeah, yeah. The brain fog it just comes in. I do. Me and Yancy have spoke about it numerous times. There's gonna be, and it's coming very soon. Maybe it might happen in Miami next week. Maybe it might happen at the World Championships. Whether it's in the elite male or female, or whether it comes down to the relays of the team event, there's going to be a finish in zone 10 where it's literally going to be burpee for burpee, and the crowds are just going to be in on top, and it's just a bit like Ryan back at the AT&T and Killian. It's just going to happen, and you just know it, and it's just going to be such an exciting finish, which is great. Which, like I said, I thought this after the AT&T back in 2019. I thought this happened all the time, every time, but it doesn't. But when it does happen, it's it's awesome to watch.
well, I mean, for second place for the women in Chicago, it was that, and it
Oh
was
yeah, that's right.
literally,
That's
yeah,
right. Yeah,
literally who picked the mat closer was
yeah.
coming across, and I believe that was Holly Hughes, and yeah, that was just an awesome finish. So that was one of my highlights. But JP, you got an awesome product. We're super excited about it. Love that it's part of Deka, and can't wait to see it grow more. Um,
Especially in Canada, the
yeah,
Rams are
man,
on their
like
way to Jesse. The
seriously,
Rams
like
are
I'm
on the.
going to gym saying, "What the hell? Where is it?" We're trying to literally drag them across the board.
Yeah. Oh, don't say that. The taxman, customs men, they could be listening.
Awesome. Thanks so much, JP, and we'll talk to you real soon.
Yeah, good stuff. Look forward to meeting you again, Dave. Thank you. Bye bye.
Hello.
Hey, man, how you doing?
Doing great.
Let's
Good to
see.
see we got the same haircut still.
Oh yeah, well I mean, you can't go wrong with perfection, buddy. You just got to ride with it. You got to roll with it.
What does Bracken say? His family always said God only made a few perfectly shaped heads, and he put hair on the rest of them. Something like that.
Yeah, well, you know what? I figure actually, I don't know about you, but I started actually shaving my head when I was like 23. And it was like I did it for a Halloween costume, and I kind of like knew I was going to be one of those guys that was going to go down that road. And I'm like, it's not so bad this, so I'll just stick with it and just rolled.
I bought some balding, or I guess just thinning hair, I guess. 23, 24, 25, and I was like, let's just get rid of it. Everyone, both parents of my parents, so both my grandpas were bald. I know it comes from your mom's side, but there's no winning on either side, so I knew it's coming. I've embraced it.
I was like the abnormal one, man. Everybody in my family, huge. My old man, till he was like 68 years old, big, long, had like Johnny Cash, Elvis hair. It was crazy. My brother, older brother, he's hasn't lost a hair yet. Yeah, doesn't matter. It's all good. When you look good, it's okay. It doesn't matter. So, yeah, we just jump right in. Like,
cool.
Bubbles the Clown, Kevin Gregory. You get a ton of people in OCR, and OCR seems to drive, like, bring these people in where you get like the characters, right? And everybody's got the characters. There's like the painted warrior guy. There's, I'm trying to remember some of the other ones that all just show up, and there's always people in superhero costumes. And then there was Bubbles the Clown. And it was one of those deals where, and this was kind of, I mean, you were like in Tough Mudders and stuff like that. And it was always one of those deals where you're like, yeah, it's Bubbles the Clown. But then you're like, shit, Bubbles is fucking fit. So how did you like start out with all that crap, man? Like how did you get into it?
Well, like most people, I kind of stumbled upon obstacle course racing from friends that wanted to get together and do something. So back in 2011, I got invited to do a Warrior Dash. That was a big one, I guess, at the time. Tough Mudder had existed, but I guess I heard more about Warrior Dash, and that's when you had like Facebook was new and there was I guess not brand new, but the ads were different back then.
Yeah.
And we did Warrior Dash in New York at Windham Mountain, which was like an hour from where we all went to college. So it was like perfect for everybody to like kind of get back together. And then about 3 miles, but that kicked my ass. I never thought about running a 5K, let alone on a mountain. And I played semi-pro football at the time, so I had a game the night before, drank after that, and then went to this Warrior Dash and got my ass kicked. And my buddies were, let's actually train for one of these. There's this thing called Tough Mudder, and it's in New Jersey in like November. And I'm like, all right, cool. So we downloaded the Tough Mudder training plan and followed that like pretty well for the next few months. And then we got together and we ran it. One of my buddies lived in Staten Island, which is kind of closer to New Jersey. So we drove down to his house on Friday night. We hit up the Party City and we wanted to pick out some costumes for the event just to run together. And it was getting near holiday time. So we dressed up as 3 Santas, but like 3 fit Santas. So we bought like stockings and we cut the bottom off and put them on our arms. So we had like candy cane arms, and we got Santa suspenders and these like Santa fleecy shorts. And we got tight leggings that were also like candy cane looking, and a beard and a hat and all that. So we wanted to pick out a costume we could run in. So that was fun. Tough Mudder had a costume contest back then, and the winner got a free season pass. So in our first ever Tough Mudder at the end of the season, the last regular season Tough Mudder, we won a season pass for 2012. So like, well, I guess we got to do more of these things. And then that kind of was the routine with Tough Mudders for 2012. We just get together on Friday night, find a Party City near the race, and go pick out some more pieces of costume and do something different. We did clowns once for Mount Snow, but it was like big fuzzy hair and face paint and the nose and the big bow tie. And that was fun. But after you do a few of those, you start realizing those costumes add up quick. They don't last more than a race. And we're like, we need to find something that would last. We did Tough Mudder in 2012 also, or Spartan rather, in a tuxedo in 2012 in June. And that was a different beast or animal. It was a sprint. But didn't dress up for that, but that was a lot harder because they had like the log hop, which was slippery, and first time I ever saw a spear, and just some different obstacles that you didn't get a second chance at. So the burpees definitely were a little more rough than just the Tough Mudder, where the 3 of us would just run and get through everything. And then they kind of like went their separate ways, moved into their careers, but I just stuck with it. I gave up semi-pro football to start doing more Spartans. And around Halloween time, I was in the Halloween store just picking out a costume, and I found this mask. And it just happened to be a clown. It could have been anything, but it had this chin hole where I could put my mouth. Because that was my concern with masks. You can't breathe. If you can't breathe, you can't run.
Yep.
And it's pretty form-fitting in my head, so I could see. I punched some holes in the nose initially so I could breathe better, but this is like my 8th one, and I just buy more every year because they break down over time. But I could do anything in that. So I started wearing them to the Spartans, and I'd run elite in them. I wasn't really an elite racer, but I ran elite when I ran elite, and I ran open if I didn't get there in time or whatnot. And I proved to myself I can do any race. And I did World's Toughest Mudder, not for 24 hours, but for like 4 or 5 laps in it. I did Lake Tahoe Ultra Beast in it. And when it was cold, that helped a lot, especially with the wind. I did the Arctic Swim with it on and all that stuff. So there's really nothing that I can't do in it. I haven't worn it too much recently because it's been so hot and it just drains you. It just makes you sweat a lot more than you would otherwise. And I'm get heat exhaustion too fast. So I just put it in my bag for people for pictures now with the warmer temps. But that's kind of the story behind bubbles. But I remember when the NBC races used to come around, I used to try to go to them and I'd race and I'd run in the elite wave and try to get on TV. And I'd always be at the spear throw, and like Amelia Boone would be coming up, and I like try to run behind, like next to her, and try to get in the shot. And they'd always edit it out. You never found bubbles on TV, which is terrible. I'm like, everything I'm doing to get on TV, this isn't working. But then Robert Coble would always come up to me, he's like, dude, you're too good of an athlete to be goofing around with this clown mask thing. Like, you're ruining all our shots for NBC. Like, just lose the mask and run hard and then wear it after, or run an open weight with it or something. So training for ultras and World Cups Mutter and stuff, I'd run competitively without the mask, and I'd throw it on and go do like a fun lap. And that's kind of what I don't do as much of that now, but that's kind of the plan for bubbles at this point.
Well, you know, for WTM and Tough Mudder, it works perfect, right? It fits right in. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, everyone's goofy.
You know, I don't like backing Coble up, but I get what he's saying.
I agree, and he's made some good points over the years, and we have I've known him long enough now that when he has a point to make, he's like, all right, whether or not you agree with it, you kind of understand where it's coming from.
Yeah. So you went through all that and you did that, and like you've done a lot of, like you say, you've done competitive. You did really well in some stadium stuff too. That seems to be your jam as well. But I mean, the big thing we really want to talk about, I mean, that's kind of in the past. It's gone, it's whatever. Like now you were like Deka superstar guy, sitting second in the Deka strong standings. And from what I've seen, it put out some of the best instructional videos on stations. Except for the sit-ups thing, because apparently you can't do that, right? That was
crazy. They changed the rule as soon as they did it. I'm like,
that was cool. I was dying. I was trying to video it. I was trying not to laugh, and I'm like, oh my god! But it had to be exhausting.
Yeah, it was. I tried it in the regular race, but when I got there was no one in the station, and the power from the ball to hit it shook the whole rig, and the rig would rattle because it was on concrete, and it would move. But the rattling also like deadened the ball, so I didn't get any rebounds. So I did this hard throw so I could do a full sit up and pick up the ball and start over. So I during the regular fit, I just reverted back to what everybody else does, a sit up and a light little toss and tap. But when I got there during the relay, I looked across and I saw Kent anchoring himself directly across from me. I'm like, he's a big enough guy. This should go well this time. And we had some time to make up, so I hammered it, and I did gas myself pretty hard, and I paid for it in the subsequent station, but it at the time it was worth it. And the video, just watching it after, I'm like, wow, this is what professional athletes must feel like watching game film. They're like, oh, this is the part where we pass them. But unfortunately, they had a better strategy on the ski, and they took the lead back, and we never caught them after that. But
well, and just to fill people in, so what we did in a station 5 for Deka Fit, you got to do the med ball sit-ups with the 4.5 foot target. So Kevin decided that it would be appropriate to not bother with the sit-up portion and merely just lie down and throw the ball from the ground, catch it, and slam the ground, which was extraordinarily fast. It threw a lot of people for a loop, and it was very inventive, but apparently it was too borderline on the rules to work. But I looked at the rules again, and I kind of went through recently, and I saw they adapted like the lunges and stuff. But I read through it, and I didn't see on the Deka Fit sit-ups. I saw it on the Deka Strong sit-ups. They went from full upright to now a 45-degree angle, which, if anything, made it easier now. Because when I did mine, I was like going full upright and going all the way. And it was actually a bit I had because some of the other guys weren't. I'm like, damn it. but yeah, so I don't know. I don't know if it's legal or not.
To tell you the truth, before the New Jersey Deka Fit, I sprained my ankle a week earlier in New Hampshire. So I was like, damn it. I had big plans for this New Jersey race, but now I'm injured. So now I went from like priming my system to I just need to be able to show up and start. But on Friday before the race, I was like, I got to take a couple videos because I didn't have a chance to practice my lunges. The changed form after it because I was very swollen all week. And my walking's not happening, let alone lunges or box step overs or anything. But I was like, let me practice these sit-ups and take a video of them so I can make sure I'm sitting up enough based on that 45-degree angle. And I sent a bunch of different clips to Yancey because I wanted to feel it, see it, and then get some feedback. Because I don't want to go. No one wants to get no reps when the clock's on. And I did my strategy from Chicago where you lay on the floor. And fortunately, when I played high school football, I was a long snapper. So that finally translated to something other than long snapping. So throwing the ball up, I did that, and then like I barely came off the floor to get the ball, and then I did the full sit up, and then I tried to find the happy space in between where I could still launch the ball but not go against the rules. And I found that I pretty much did a 45-degree sit up every time I launched it anyway to catch it. So I guess I still was within the rules, and I sent Yancey the video, and he's like, just trying to, let's just go with what you're supposed to do. You know, the spirit of the rule. And I'm like, all right. And then I get to New Jersey and they didn't even have the rigs. And I was like, oh, all right, well, back to the regular ones. And since they changed that rule, which I found out after my second place time for the strong, I'd like toyed with it because I'm like, well, I got really long arms and I don't have to sit up very far at all to get the ball to like the line between my heels. And I'm like quite a few seconds faster than doing the full sit up with the shoulders over the hips, as what I used to understand it as. So,
well, yeah, I believe it used to say complete. It used to say upright was what it was interpreted as. And I'm the same. Like I don't have the long arms, but what I do have is really short legs. So it ends up being the same thing, right? Where I was always going straight upright, and core movements is something that's a real strength of mine. So I'm like I got a strong coming up. I'm figuring I'm going to shave at least 4 or 5 seconds there for sure. And that's a short station. So if you save any time on there at all, it's great. How was Jersey? Because that was a little bit different, right? And it was understandably, it was kind of more thrown together a bit as, you know, we couldn't do Rhode Island. That had to not happen. So let's try to make sure we get another one. How did that all go?
I talked to him. Nelson Diaz runs the road show events in the Northeast. So he drives his van around every weekend, and Friday night he's in one place at one gym, and Saturdays in another place, and Sundays in another place. So he does the strongs and sometimes the miles with the road show. He lives in New Jersey, and then Yancey obviously flies out to all the fits. So the goal here was once Providence got canceled, they were like, well, we need to put together a fit in the Northeast. Like we have more Deka affiliates in the Northeast than any other corner of the country, and that's the only place we don't have a fit. So like, yeah, some of those guys are going to fly to other ones, but the masses, which is what Deka was created for, is that the average Joe who walks into a gym, or Mrs. Jones who's just trying to like someone wants to get her to a start line or whatnot, then she's not ready for like the barbed wire and fire, as Yancey would put it. That's creating a huge barrier to the fit and the trifecta and all the great benefits of doing all three. So I think it is based on staffing issues. I don't know the details of why Providence got pulled, but they said, hey, if we can run a road show for all this other stuff, then let's see what we can do, leaning on the affiliates to have an event in the Northeast. And Frank from Mud, Sweat, and Tears has, I think he was the first affiliate. If not, he has more Deka equipment than I've seen anywhere. He's a great dude overall. He's done death races and stuff. If you don't know who he is, follow Mud, Sweat, and Tears, and you'll probably recognize him. But last fall, I had more registrations than I had one lane of equipment.
Yeah.
And my registration numbers were really high. And I'm like, this is going to be, I don't want to have all these people come to my gym and have a terrible experience because I don't have enough stuff. And we get bottlenecked with one lane. And I reached out to him and he's like, dude, come down here to New Jersey, which is like a little over 2 hours. He's like, you go borrow everything you want. You want another lane? You want 2 more lanes? Whatever you need, you can have. The only thing is I'm leaving to go to Telluride for the Ultra World Championship, but I'll put you in touch with who needs. So he got like one girl that works at his gym, like went to his house and let me in his garage to take a couple tanks. And then they brought me to the gym and I just rented a box truck and took all this stuff and brought it back to Connecticut and was able to put on a great event and super appreciative of that. So it was good that they put the road show fit near him because he was able to contribute a lot of equipment, but some of the other affiliates contributed stuff. Like Bill Kemmerer from Next Level OCR, they host a lot of Deka events there in Flemington, which is like Central Jersey. I brought myself. I asked if they needed any more equipment because at that time they said they were good. And then on my way, they were like, oh, we could use a bike and a tank. And one of my buddies, Tom Simeone, he has everything Deka in his garage. So I stayed at his house, and we borrowed his bike and tank and brought it over to the event, wheeled it in. But Friday, Nelson and Yancey got to the venue to set up everything out of the vans, and then Frank was there, and then Tom, and then I rolled in, and it was just the five of us setting up the entire deck fit. And then some other people rolled in, like Mark Falcone. He has iCore Fitness in Westchester, PA. He came up and helped out quite a bit. And then some other guys that were just racing. I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody, but there was probably like 8 or 10 of us there eventually, and like Farmer carrying these huge jugs to create the barrier so we could run like some caution tape through. So I think having that many people that have hosted events really helps, because each of us is used to being the head person putting it together, but we're all like humble enough to be like, all right, this is Yancey and Nelson's show, but how can we cover their blind spots or like fill in the gaps so that way they don't have to like waste all this time like telling us what to do. Like, where do you want the station? Where's the running lane? Okay, we'll fill in the blank and then we'll come back to you. And so it operated really well. I think in 4 or 5 hours we got 90% of it set up. And then you know, some of us are like Tom, he's in construction, so he's like, oh, I'll build the wall. And then I'm like, well, I don't know how to do that, but I know how to put this equipment together. So I'm like putting the arms on the tank and pumping up the tires, because if you remember in Chicago, there happened to be almost a monstrous collision between Ryan Kent and Nick Riker, because one of the tires was not up to the right PSI. So I talked to Yancey about that.
With the women too.
Yeah. Yancey was so pissed that happened, because he's like, I hold everything to such a high standard and want to make sure it's perfect. And with like, I guess in Chicago, they had something with the like flights got screwed up, so they got in super late, and then the union of the building like wouldn't let them operate or whatever, and then it all got behind. And you were there, you saw what happened with the volunteer like crew didn't show up, so then they were like 2 hours behind and sending waves. So I think New Jersey, it definitely ran a lot smoother than Chicago, as far as they ran smaller waves but more often. And the volunteers you didn't need as many volunteers, and they didn't have a ton, but people were walking in and they raced, and then it was like pretty much expected, like, hey, once you finish your race, like go get a drink, calm down, and then come back. We're going to need you to cover a station for a little while. You don't have to stay here all day. But it was just really cool to see the community like bond together. And I had people from my gym that showed up to race, and then they're like, yeah, I'm done. Where do I go? I'm like, oh, all right, yes, here. And then other people said they were coming, and they're like, I'm not going to race. And then I'll be there, but then they like get called to work, and like, you don't realize someone who committed to doing the whole day didn't even show up, and you're like, shit. But it went smooth. We had the judges when we needed them. Like we had adequate staffing for the elite races, and then for age groups, like I think we started the relay race 15 minutes early, where in Chicago it was like everyone was 2 hours behind, and everyone that was supposed to do the relays, like, my flight leaves in like an hour and a half, and we didn't start yet. I need to still go to the airport. So
I don't know how that relay went off. I don't know how that relay went off relatively on time, because for a while, like even my heat, right? So the elites went and everything, and then I'm waiting for my heat, and I was supposed to go at like 10:30, and I didn't run till like 11:30, and I was like waiting there getting warm, so I'm already like an hour behind. Then they got further behind, and then somehow by the end, relay we're on time. I'm like, I don't know what the hell happened there, but whatever, it worked. I'd like to take credit because I volunteered, so it was mostly me.
It was. I didn't realize how bad behind they were going to be in Chicago, and I got there at like 7:30. So like the elites were on like sit-ups or something when I got there, because I was like watching the live stream, watching you when I was in the Uber coming in from the airport. And then I got there, and then I watched the race, and then I talked to people, and then I was like, all right, I was supposed to race at like 11:30. So I was like, I'll just chill for a bit, and then I'll get ready. And then like 11 came, I started warming up, and then I warmed up, and then got to the starting corral, and I'm like, yeah, you're not going anytime soon. And it was like 1:30, 2 o'clock before I went, and then the relay was at 4. I was like, oh, I need to get food. I haven't eaten since I left Connecticut this morning before I went to the airport. But I'm like, oh, I didn't realize the magnitude of what that was going to happen. But I think being able to share that story since I was in Chicago really helped me like encourage people to volunteer in New Jersey and make it smooth. And yeah, like I said, it was a good event. Interesting take on, like, people thought the course was really slow because of the turf, and I don't disagree with that. The men's times were not, like, even the winner Dylan Scott has like the 16th best time this year, and like, it was a good battle. Watching the elites was great. The guy that got second place, he Jimmy Hughes, he was in like the last wave. It was weird. They were gonna send 4, then they sent 3 at a time, and huge like shakeup. No one knew who was gonna place best, I guess. But then the women, like, you'd think, oh, the time sucked. Dylan Scott won, and he got 16th. He didn't even touch qualification for elite. And then the women put up the best time of the year and the 4th best time of the year and the like 7th best time of the year. I think the top 4 women in New Jersey were all top 12 times for the year, and on the same turf with the same equipment and the same everything. So I think cement probably would have been faster, but it's interesting that the women didn't let the surface of the ground
well,
slow them down.
One thing about that, first off, Dylan Scott, Timo effects, big win, way to go. Absolutely. Haven't had a chance to have him on talk about it, but we will eventually. He told me he didn't say anything about the turf being slow. He just said that he wasn't feeling great that day. He didn't have his best day, and that he made no excuses about turf or nothing. He says he's gonna be faster in West Palm, he says. So we'll see how that goes. Very disappointed I'm not going to be there for that. It really ticks me off.
That was the main reason I had taken this offer to hop on the podcast. I wanted to see if you were going to be in West Palm, because that's going to be like the pre-Super Bowl of Deka set.
It's ridiculous the field they got going for there. It's insane. We'll go to that in a bit, but I wanted to go back to Chicago, New Jersey. So you ran relays in both of them, and obviously two big relays. Chicago, you ran with Glenn Race, and let's just talk about kind of your guys' strategy for doing that. And like, I mean, I thought a very good strategy and a really good team. And I didn't, I was so glad you guys were there to push Rich and Ryan there. So what was your strategy going in there?
So Glenn reached out to me and he's like, hey, you want to do the relay in Chicago? And I was like, I would love to team up with you. I've been thinking about this relay thing because I have a very polarized one end of the spectrum set of skills with Deka, and you have I need someone really fast, and then we could make a great team. And he reached out to me like, I'm not going to go to Chicago, but that sounds cool. You want to come to New Jersey and do it? He's from California, so it's not like, oh, sure, I come to the East Coast every week. So I was like, let me look at my schedule and see if I actually go to Chicago, because the opportunity to run with Glenn, I've raced with him in Iceland. We chatted for hours of a 24-hour race, and we finished next to each other on the American standings in that race. So I'm like, this guy's really cool. And I know he's a competitor. He's in his 40s, but he's been on the pro team like as long as anybody, even if he is or isn't now. But I was like, this is awesome. So I'm very, I don't know if you've followed me in other podcasts like Rich Ryan's Reinforced Running podcast, but I have been studying this Deka thing for over a year. And I sit down and do a time trial of the race and videotape like every time I do the whole time trial. And then I take splits, and then I look at where I lost time and made time up, or what went well, what didn't. And knowing that Glenn and I have within 3 seconds the same Deka mile time, but in completely different skill sets, I'm like, wow, this is going to be great. We'll partner up. I'll do the stations, you do the running, and then obviously we had to look at the rules and see what we needed to do to like meet the standard. So the rules for the relay, if you don't know, both competitors or teammates have to do the first run together. So I'm like, well, Glenn's going to run really slow because he's way faster than me, and I'm going to have to run my ass off and like basically run a 500-meter PR and then bang out the lunges. So I took my Ram to the track and did some 500-meter runs followed by 30 Ram reverse lunges to see if I can still do my Ram lunges in about 30 seconds after a 500. And that was my biggest fear, was letting him down because I was too slow. But I was like, Glenn, you get to rest when I get to do the station. So he basically ran a 10 by 500 workout, and I ran a 500, and then I did all the Deka stations. I got to rest when he run, and he got to rest when I do the stations. He did more running than I did stations, but it all worked out pretty well. The last, back to the rules, you have to do the last run together as well. So after the tank, you leave station 9. Both of you have to do the full 500 meters together. And then you do the burpees. One of you or both of you can split the burpees, and then you cross the finish line together. So whoever's running carries the baton. So my game plan was, and I looked at my splits, and then I estimated how fast I do stuff for a strong when I don't have a rest. And then I tried to add in places where I could push a little bit harder because I'm going to have a rest now. So it's more of an interval workout. And then he just I told him what I planned to do for my splits. So I was like, if you're going to train for this leading in, I don't know what your training schedule is like or what your race schedule is like, but you're going to get about a 30-second break when I'm doing lunges. You're going to get about a minute and a half break on the rower. And you're going to get another 30 seconds on the box, and then another like 35 seconds on the sit-ups, and so on. So that way he kind of knew, like, when he get back from the run, then he'd know how long he was going to be waiting. And you have to make skin contact. So he'd run in, slap me, and then I'd do the exercise and tag him, and he'd leave. So that was our strategy. The only station I needed him to do anything on, well, I guess 2. I wanted him to do the last tank push and pull. So I do 4 lengths and he'd do 1, just because I'd have to do the last run. So I'm like, if I get like 20, 30 seconds to breathe, I'm going to be able to run faster on the last leg. And then on the burpees, he's running slow because I'm slowing him down. So he would do the first 10 burpees and I'd get a little 20, 30 second break. And then I could bang out the last 10 burpees. So that was our game plan. And it worked pretty well. We learned a lot, though, watching Ryan Kent and Rich Ryan, especially afterwards, watching Dave's great coverage. I was able to see where they had some better strategies and how I could adjust. But that's the story of Chicago. And we didn't beat the previous men's record, but we came pretty close. We were happy with putting up the 3rd best men's relay time.
Yeah, the reality is your first race together, you guys put up the 3rd best time ever. And yeah, you were any other race, you guys would have won, right? You just happened to come up against the guys who were going to set the new record. And I thought it was a cool strategy. Bethany and Lanny had the same strategy, and and they as well, they came up a little short, but I still don't think it's a bad strategy. I think it might need a little work here and there, but I think, like, as I was watching it, you guys were seriously threatening until about the ski erg. And then I think that was a spot where it just looked like you were going great. And I think it was, I can't remember if it was you and Kent or you and Rich that started out there, but you were going, head to head, really cruising along, very even. And at that point, it was anybody's game. And then when they were able to switch, that's when it looked like it just was a bit much for you. It was like all of a sudden, okay, this has got a bit overwhelming.
Yeah. 100%. I felt the same during it. I was like, I'm beating Kent, or even if I wasn't beating him, in my head, I'm like, I'm beating him, or we're even. I'm good. And then when Rich Ryan jumped on, I could hear his fan was going faster, and it just leveled up. And I was like, I got nothing in the tank. And then they switched again, and I'm like, shit, this isn't even my strong race pace. Sorry, Glenn, I'm trying. I'm gonna die. And then they finished and left, and then I suffered through the finish, but. Yeah, that definitely was the turning point, because after that, I redlined there pretty hard, and then my ability to push after that was very limited. Like the farmer carries, I ran like half of it pretty hard, and then I just like slowed down significantly. On the bike, I was able to put up a 40, but Ken put up a 38. So I'm like, I try to match it, and I'm still losing ground. And then the dead balls was a nightmare. That yoke, like, it was just so annoying to do, because the vertical post, then you got to worry about smacking your head and the fatigue. And then they got us by a lot of time on there. And then the tank, their strategy there was superior to ours. And it was just like watching 2 NFL linemen do blocking sleds and watching me be a snail. And I'm like, Glenn, you want to take one of these? This is my jam, and I'm not pushing it. But it was a great fun time and learning experience. But I'm sure, even just running my second relay with a completely different partner, those minor adjustments were made, and we saw a huge improvement. So.
Yeah, well, the one thing too, like I said, I noticed, and this was the first thing, and I knew Glenn was fast. I mean, you've seen him race on streams and stuff, and I was fast. Seeing him firsthand, holy cow! I didn't know how fast he was. Like, when he starts pulling on Rich and Ryan Kent, I'm like, holy shit, that guy can just haul. And you guys, like this said, up to that skier, I'm like, shit, they might pull this off. But I say it might need a little bit of work here and there, but it's not a bad strategy. So yeah, then you're into New Jersey, and you're obviously a completely different partner in a different realm. And I'm sorry, I don't even remember your partner's name. Who were you running with?
Cassandra Carroll, formerly Cassandra Oman. She was a big name in the Spartan Stadium Series, and she used to run with Kate Kramer and Orla Walsh and Kelly Sullivan, and she was always on the podium in the Stadium Series, and Corinna. So she was like the not Spartan pro that was always on the podium in Stadium. So I think she was a pro for 1 year, but then maybe that was the COVID year, and then it came away. But she's also pretty fast. So it's ironic because my wife, previous to Glenn, I was like, Jeff, I should do this relay race. I just need to find a really fast guy or a fast girl, and I'll do the stations and they run. And she's like, why don't you team up with Cassandra? And I was like, oh, that's a good idea. And then Glenn had asked me, and I was like, Glenn Race reached out to me. She's like, that's perfect. And then that worked. So then we were going to New Jersey, like Cassandra was going to fit. And Jess already planted the seat with me. I don't know who said it to her, but then I don't know if Cassandra asked me or I asked her. And so we were like, wow, this is going to be great. She put up the second fastest mile time in 100 degrees at our gym over in July. And she was, the second fastest mile time. She behind Alondra, who she ended up losing to a fit. But I was like, all right, listen, I got the strategy. I tried it with Glenn. I made some adjustments. This is what you're going to do. So I sent her, I'm like, you need to do this 10 by 500 workout. These are exactly the splits. You got to run slow, like minute 48 or 2 minutes per the first 500, and the same with the last 500. And otherwise, every other one you run as hard as you want. But I need to know your splits so I can figure out if we're going to break this record or not. And we made a couple of adjustments. And as I learned from the race with Glenn, let me split the skier. So I had her hop on the skier for 30 seconds. I did 30, she did 30, and I finished. Mm-hmm. And that made a huge difference for the whole race for us because she was dead when she got there, but 30 seconds back, she started to get her wind. Then she skied at whatever pace she could hold for 30, which is, I mean, if you've done any of these like Instagram skier challenges, like everyone can go pretty hard for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
After that, you might crack. But so that allowed us both to like keep the high pace. And then the farmer carry, I was able to sprint through the whole thing. Like my farmer carry in New Jersey is like 33 seconds, and my strong farmer carry is like 50.
A lot more turns than the strong. A lot more turns.
It definitely is. And it's not exactly apples to apples, but the breakdown that I felt in Chicago was not there with that. And then the bike, I went 38. So Yancey was actually standing next to me. He's like, how fast are you going to do the bike? And I'm like, I'm not blowing up like last time. I can't let Chicago it got me too much. So I'm just going to take it easy. And I'm going. He's like, you're not on pace for 50 seconds. You're going way too fast. I'm like, but it feels great. And I hit 38, tagged her, and she left. And he's like, you sure you're okay? I'm like, no, I felt good. I didn't feel like I was like about to die. And then my dead balls were faster. Our tank strategy was different. I did 2, she did 1. I did 1, she did 1. Mm-hmm. Which in relay or with co-ed, you have to change the settings. Okay. So that's because that's something that you don't have to worry about in the same gender. But I did a bunch of have you been following like Yancey will put out a quarterly like Deka challenge or whatnot? Yeah. There's like the 358 challenge and the Rosie Brown. So my gym did a lot of the Rosie Brown. I have a couple of clients that are going to Atlantic City. They're qualified already, or they're sitting in qualification safely, I should say. They're not qualified already, but so we did Rosie Brown a ton of times, splitting up a bunch of different ways. One's a female, one's a male. So the co-ed ones, we got practice with like switching the weights and whatnot. So I was like, Cassandra, all you got to do when I hand you the straps, just start pushing. I'll switch the weights. And when you get back, I'll switch the weights before, and then I'll grab the straps. So we were smooth there, and we came out of the tank, and I'm like, we got 3 minutes to run a 500 and do 20 burpees. I could probably do this on my own. So I know we're going to be able to do it because I'm not going to have to do the 10 burpees. And then, but the pictures that the photographer got, like we're running like perfect unison. I was like, holy shit. I'm not she's like an excellent runner and I'm like decent, but I'm like, we're like in perfect stride. And we finished that 20th burpee and crossed the line. And I looked at my watch and I'm like, we got it. And we just lay there like dead, as you know, Deka's zone 11. And I told Johnny and Chris, like their record held since the first time, like they ran the first one and no one beat it after that. So it was definitely a solid record. Because I think the men's was the first two, but so now I have an interesting predicament, Dave.
Yeah, I was just at Atlantic City, right?
Yeah, as I hear, there's a relay at World Championships, and now I have Glenn, and I qualify with him, and I have Cassandra, and I qualify with her. And based on the way they run these things, the relays are all in one time. I won't be doing fit, even though I'll probably qualify for age group. I'm definitely not qualifying for elite. So Saturday morning I'll have off, and then Saturday afternoon they're both running fit because they're both qualified, or they should. I mean, Cassandra's too, so she's definitely qualifying. And then Glenn's sitting in 7th right now, so I don't see him getting bumped out of top 12. Since the 6 people that beat him are probably all they're not gonna knock him down, and they're all racing Florida. So I don't know the answer to that, but I feel like the 3 of us should have a little call and a bidding war or something. I'm kidding. See who's the healthiest, who feels like they're the best shot. I mean, it's the same game plan for me either way. It's just plug and play. But yeah, I feel terrible because I don't see any possible way that we could both do it unless they throw like the co-ed on a different. Well, even if you put it on Sunday, I'm going to do 2 races on Sunday anyway for strong and mile. Maybe a Friday night like matinee. We'll throw one of them up there to like welcome everybody. But,
maybe you'll be lucky and one of them will like win a trip somewhere and you won't have to decide or figure it out. Or maybe they'll just decide for you. But
that's what I'm kind of hoping. I don't want to like, well, I picked you because you're not good enough. Like that's definitely not the case. They're both like the highest tier. Yeah. Like even anybody that's faster than them, like, I don't know. You might be a little faster, but this partnership worked out really well once, and it's not. Yeah.
I would think though I would imagine going into it, your prime focus would be on the strong anyway.
Yeah, I would say
number 2 right now.
Yeah, 6 months ago, I was placed much higher in the mile than the strong, and yeah, maybe 5 months, 4 months, whatever, in the spring, and then on early June, that's when I put up that 11:35 in the strong, and I'm like, holy shit. My running is definitely not as good as it needs to be, but as soon as I hit that strong time, I messaged Ryan Corning, and he had just broke the record like within a week or two. And when I saw 11:31, it like blew my mind. I'm like, how is that possible? Like everybody, the best of the best, had only gotten like 11:49 at that point. So for someone to break through that big, I'm like, what the hell? Like, how did you? Congrats, first of all, but second, like. You've been doing this for a year now. What did you do to improve by that much? And I forget what his bike time was, but whatever he told me his bike time, I was like, that's it. I can't be riding the bike for 1:18 and expect to have like a top strong time. I got to figure out how to get that down. And then I went into that race. I ran a time trial on Friday before I raced on Saturday at my gym, just like by myself. I videoed it and everything. And I got to the burpees in like 10:50 or something, and I was like, I don't even need to push on these burpees. I have a real legit shot at hitting 12 minutes. So my goal was to hit 12 because Kent was sitting at 12:05, and I'm like, that will put me in second. Yeah. And then I finished and rolled over, and the judge showed me the time, and I'm like, holy crap! Like just the belief I got from what was possible from seeing what Ryan did. It was like the Roger Bannister effect, I guess. I don't know if that's really the effect, but that exact thing, like no one ever ran a 4-minute mile, and then he did it, and everybody else
does it.
Yeah. So he said he's not gonna do it again till World Championships, but that dude is not sitting back relaxing. He's probably gonna go sub 11 at World Championships because he's just an animal. But he knows he's qualified, so he's gonna keep his like hand to the vest, I guess. But
Well, just from my limited experience doing the Dekas and the strong thing, what I've noticed, especially about Deka strong, it is so dependent on the machines. Everything else is just fluff. You might lose 3-4 seconds on the lunges or on the sit-ups or on the box overs, whatever. You might, really, really hard effort, maybe you're 4 seconds faster than just a coasting effort. But if you get on that bike and coast, you're going to be a minute slower than if you push it. If you get on that rower and coast, you're going to be maybe 20 seconds slower. Same with the skier and the tank too, right? Like the first time I push the tank, it took me nearly 3 minutes. And it's because I had no idea how to work the bloody thing. And then when I did Deka Fit, after all the running, I'm 45 seconds faster on just the tank. And that was after the running because I've felt it before.
Yeah,
now
yeah.
I know it works. So yeah, it's so dependent on that. And that's why I'm thinking, like, I know me going into my next one, it's going to be coast, hit the machine hard, coast, and then really on the bike, hammer that bike. And, I'm not hitting no 38 seconds, but closer to a minute is possible, right? So I'm like, yeah, I've said it. And part of that stuff is just from watching some of your clips too, and the demonstration stuff and seeing some of your guys' technique and, running through it. It's definitely very machine dependent on that strong. So you have to have that power, especially when you hit that bike. You can't blow up on that bike, so.
Yeah, definitely. It's funny because like I just imagine these levels of Deka, like your first Deka, just finish. People, what's a good time? I'm like, the fact that you finished and didn't quit, because a lot of people are going to come out too hot and then you're going to blow up. Like so many people get a shitty time because they row like 130 on the rower and they haven't experienced anything after that. Like Matt Stankiewicz from Pennsylvania, who used to play for the Patriots, like he can row 115 for 500, but he's not doing that and then doing the rest of Deka. Like he's probably going to roll like a 120, 125 because he's got to save some in the tank. But like that tier 2, I'm like, all right, well, you know how to do everything now. Now let's get efficient with your like transition. So don't waste 15 seconds walking from the lunges to the rower, strapping in and
Yeah.
All right, I guess I'm gonna start. So you can shave a minute off just in transitions because you're deliberate. And then like tier 3, like you said, is all right, how do I make my station? You don't have to, you can push really hard and save a second, but how do you get efficient with there so then you can go harder on the machine? And then I guess it's similar to running. You want to find where you can push pretty hard but not die and hold that. And I feel like I talked to a lot of people too with the steered. Like I can go really hard in the steered for 30 seconds and I can like slam a 1K. But in the race, whether I'm trying super hard or I'm dogging it, I'm always going to be right around 150. So now I'm like kind of in my head, like when I PR'd every single station except the ski. And I was like, all right, well, if I'm only going to be a second faster on the ski, then I might as well dog it because then I can run more than 1 second faster on the farmer's carries. And then the bike, as you said, that's the easiest one to make up time because it's really just your work capacity is the limiting factor. If you have to have the engine to push, and then if you don't, then you're on there for 3 minutes. But if you can get it under 2 minutes, that's like your first goal, and the next is like 130. And then if you're under 130, you're in a really good spot. But how do you start creeping up towards that 1 minute mark? And now in this strong, my bike time is in the 50s. I'm working on the low 50s, but the relay, I'm like 38. Okay, all right. Well, I don't know if I can do that in a race, but I haven't done a strong time trial in a while, so we'll see what happens. But you look at the Ryan Courtney's and like, all right, that dude's doing like 30 some seconds for the strong. That's 15 seconds faster than me. I'm not. Where am I going to make up 15 other seconds to catch him? Like, I got to get my bike better. And my tank's gotten much better, especially like that Rosie Brown thing. There's bike and tank. So like all the extra work on the bike and the tank, like just built the engine for that. And then the tank work those transitions. But the surface plays a role. It slides a little more in cement, a little less on turf, but you don't control what the surface is. You just control your own effort. So Yeah, as you said, get good at get efficient on the station so you can go hard on the machines. It's a good way to put it.
I will say this. I've heard people say that the tank is what it is. It'll only go so fast. It's only so this. I don't buy it. I don't. I really don't. I believe there's more time to be made on that thing and it can be done. And it's just, yes, we all know the harder you push, the harder it pushes back, but you still can incrementally get better and better and better. And I do believe that there's still time to be made there. It's not just a throwaway. I think people that they're saying that don't have one access to one and aren't practicing on it enough to know, hey, wait, yeah, I can make up time on this one. This doesn't have to be, oh, it is what it is, And then I really felt that like in the relay. So when I did the relay and I'm just going one time, I'm like, okay, so I can fly at this. It can be done. It's just I gotta find that good medium effort to carry through the whole thing. So I'm not buying it. There's a lot more to that tank than meets the eye.
For sure. Yeah, looking at people's tank splits, if you have the video and you can like actually time it versus like whatever it might give you, because we didn't have that in Chicago. The timing mats weren't there, so we didn't have our station splits, and then neither in New Jersey. But I want like for myself, I want my tank like 205 or less is good. And in Chicago during the fit, I ran like 158, I think. And I was like, holy shit, I broke 2, like huge. Like it's only 7 seconds, but 7 seconds, there's time, because when you get good, like you run out of places, you can like find a second here, find a second there. But like you said, if you can master the tank, then you pick up a couple seconds here or there, and that makes a difference. Qualifying, breaking records.
Yeah.
Just,
and like you're talking about, when you guys are talking at your level, you guys are running a 12-minute event. 5 seconds is massive. 5 seconds in a 12-minute event is huge. Just ask Olympic 5K runners. They're going 5-10 seconds faster. Oh my God, that's unbelievable. So yeah, at that point, yeah, that's a lot of time. So it's great to be made. Anyway, Kev, I think we kept you long enough. And really appreciate coming on. I can't wait to see you in Atlantic City. That's going to be amazing. One more question. How many people? So this is for the strong. We all know that when they're in the fit, they run waves of, whatever, say 3 to 12, depending on the setup. And obviously in Atlantic City, it's going to be 12. When they do the strong and the mile, how many, do you have any idea how many people they're going to put in the waves for those?
I don't know 100%, but I would expect if you want to put on a great show for everybody that's following the World Championship, you're going to have 12 lanes next to each other for the strong, and it's just like CrossFit Games or something. That's what I imagine anyway. I'm sure they'll have the equipment for it. The mile, on the other hand, I'm not sure how they're going to set that up. I've talked to a couple people that are on the verge of qualifying and shaving time off, and how do we mentally prepare for the mile at World Championships, whether it's for age group or elite? And I'm like, well, that's a good question, because the fit, obviously you have that big run, but the mile, the small run, I don't know if you're going to be able to fit 12 stations of equipment in, or I'm sure it's possible. I mean, I guess I am a race director. I put my own Deka fit on every quarter, and we've learned something every time we put one on, and how to make the course as efficient as possible. But it's either going to be really tight quarters on the runs, or I don't know what else you could really do. I would just a very condensed Deka fit. But for the strong, I imagine 12 individual lanes. You set up everything as you want, so that way you're not messing with a bike seat during the fit when you're trying to catch the other girl who's sitting on the freaking seat that just happens to be set for her height and whatnot. So that's my guess, but I don't know for sure.
Either way, it's going to be an epic event. I can't wait for it. And that one we will be live streaming. We will be there streaming that one for sure. And I think that's going to turn a lot of heads. It's going to be something epic. And can't wait to see you there and see you podium in that Deka Strong at least, and maybe break some records and relays with mystery partners. Who knows? Maybe you need a new partner. We'll find you a third one. I talked to Bethany. She might be available.
I heard she's a good runner.
Yeah, she could cruise. Anyway, thanks again, Kev. Anything you want to shout out? Your gym?
Yeah, so Underdog Fitness in Wallingford, Connecticut. If you've never been to Connecticut, well, I hadn't either until I moved here, but we host a Deka event every quarter or so. We have one on Labor Day weekend. So coming up in 5 days, it's the last one we're hosting before the end of the qualification period. We'll have the mile and the strong both Saturday and Sunday. If you are far away, you can follow us on Instagram at Underdog Fitness Gym on Instagram, or I'm Bubbles the Clown. I'll probably pop up more. I have a couple more followers because I've been in existence a little longer than the Underdog Fitness name. But that's been really running with the Underdog like mantra since this whole Deka thing started, and it's fortunate that or maybe unfortunate, I'm starting to not be the underdog. People see me coming now, so but it's fun. It's fun.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Kev. Take care.
Thanks, Dave. Take care.